How it started.
How's it going?
It was an idea rooted in possibility.
And to do the thing without actually knowing exactly how it's going to go.
Answers kind of seem to come in tiny pieces,
But the amazing thing that we have found
never making the whole picture clear,
is that the things you never thought possible
but always just enough to do the next thing.
actually happen. Hello and welcome to Truth Be Told. I'm Reverend Ryan Alexander, and this is our weekly offering of Soul Evolution Collaborative that kind of gets the juices flowing around, well, honestly, everything. And so our topic for the month is root and reboot. And so we thought it'd be fun to explore and talk a little bit about the roots of Soul Evolution Collaborative, the big whys, and how this vision is being actualized in the here and now. And so each week we're going to be exploring both how it started and how it's going, exploring 4 different avenues of this thing we call Soul Evolution Collaborative. And as always, we are grateful that you have joined us. So sit back and relax and enjoy this episode of Truth Be Told 2.0.
How it started. Well, possibility, the word possibility, has become a really important word for us here at Soul Evolution Collaborative. In fact, it's probably like the word that got all of this going in the first place. You see, way back in the year like 3 or 4 BC, before COVID, an idea started percolating that started to question the ways in which we all did this thing called spiritual community. It was an idea that asked, a lot of questions. Questions about the way things had been done, why, how. It was an idea rooted in possibilities. And over the course of several years, a lot of spiritual practice and a great deal of visioning, that idea actually became Soul Evolution Collaborative. So when we look at our roots, it seems the obvious place to start is by taking a look at possibilities and some of the questions that brought us here in the first place. One thing that seemed to become more and more obvious at the time that the seed for Soul Evolution Collaborative was being planted was that many things in the world, and within spiritual communities specifically, were kind of looking to evolve. Things that had maybe always been done and perhaps weren't necessarily serving the communities. Things that worked in some places, maybe not others. Things that it seemed were being asked of us to be done differently. The things, that's just the way we've always done it kind of things. And the question we kept finding ourselves asking was, is it possible to do all of this differently? And I still don't know if the question was referring to spiritual community specifically or just life in general. Maybe both, maybe it doesn't matter. But the important piece is that this question launched us down a path that required us to make intentional decisions about things that seem to have been always looked at as the way. And honestly, lots of those things are great and effective elements of community when done intentionally. And in some cases, a lot of cases for us, the possibilities that were making themselves known asked way more of this yet to be community than what had always been done. So naturally, this one question led to many, many more questions, which of course led to more questions and more questions. Things like, can community be collaborative? Not just within itself, but amongst other communities. What does the future of community even look like? What role does the internet play in community? Is hybrid community possible? Can we have community that defies location and geography? Is it even possible to do spiritual community in new ways? Can the type of community that has meant so much to us be available to literally anyone, anywhere, no matter who they are or where they are? And what seems like the biggest question of all, what do people really want? in community? And do we even know? And then how do we find out, right? Answers kind of seem to come in tiny pieces, never making the whole picture clear, but always just enough to do the next thing. And so for several years, we plugged away at piecing together the puzzle of possibilities, slowly making sense of the vision that would inspire Soul Evolution Collaborative. And then in 2020, everything changed, like literally. The world was struck by COVID, and all of a sudden, the answers that seemed so crazy just a moment before suddenly started making sense. Possibilities became a necessary reality. Spiritual communities moved online and were thrust into the future. So many things changed because of that. It seemed like everything that everybody knew about spiritual community was now all of a sudden put under a microscope. And the struggle was real in many places. Overnight, community leaders had to figure out how to do this whole thing online. In many places where the advancement of technology and online and the internet had basically been avoided until that point. Yet, here we are, smack in the middle of all this, was an idea that you might say was being prepared for this moment for years. Out of the muck that was COVID, and all that came along with it, was this little seedling of a community birthed into existence that is now Soul Evolution Collaborative. Join Soul Evolution Collaborative the first Friday of every month in this opportunity to come together and bridge the divide. Socially engaged conversations creates an opportunity to show up just as we are, with a mindset of listening to understand and a desire to apply what we learn to our lives in practical ways. Along with all other participants, you will be invited to share your perspective and experiences of life. We will navigate the many perspectives present as we all practice listening beyond what seems like our differences. Together, we can build a world that works. For more information on the January event this week, check out soulevolutioncollaborative.org/events.
So you've heard how it started, the SEC vision, our origin story. So how's it going? And so, a funny thing happens when there's a willingness to step out and to do the thing without actually knowing exactly how it's going to go. First, it's terrifying. But the amazing thing that we have found is that the things you never thought possible actually happen. And we have learned, well, I guess really we're continuing to learn, to be a little less white-knuckled attached to a specific outcome, but instead gently holding a container for a vision. So this leaves space for the unexpected, the unplanned, and honestly, the unexplained. And so we have seen our spark of a vision forged in countless conversations and countless Zoom room meetings and hours of quiet contemplation reveal opportunities and ways to have new conversations, difficult conversations, often conversations previously left at the door of most spiritual communities. There must be a space and place for this intersectionality between these conversations and our own experiences of spirituality. The two are not separate, and we are exploring what it means to invite both conversations into the room and the healing and empowerment that comes as a result. We have witnessed the hunger of countless individuals to explore new ways of being, new ways of interacting, and new ways of building community, new ways of loving and caring for one another. We're hungry for that, and we have seen that the world is hungry for that too. At SEC, we are learning what it means to create community and have witnessed that, yes, this can be done through the ethers of a virtual world. The platform may be virtual, but the effects of connection and belonging are living, breathing, blood-pumping 3D. We are breaking the boundaries of previously understood definitions of community and creating our own definitions. Sometimes you got to do that. When current frameworks and definitions and explanations and boundaries are just too small, you have to explore what's possible, even if it looks different for what has come before. That's the fun part about creation, about limitless possibility. Nothing is too big and nothing's too small. We are stepping out of the boxes that we have created. And if I'm honest, sometimes we've tumbled and stumbled out of these boxes because boxes are safe. We have always done it this way is safe. Falling into comparison out of fear and insecurity is safe. And we've met each of these experiences here at SEC, and we continue to. We're exploring ways to bring the principles that we hold true to fellow explorers in ways that are looking to be received and to be in community. And this looks different for everyone, and we are amazed at all the ways and opportunities there are and will be to build this thing that we call SEC, Soul Evolution Collaborative, with people. With people. That has become the key. When starting something new, it is easy to fall in the build it and they will come mode of operating. And we fell into that too. But we are learning. And maybe this is the most important piece of how it's going. That value, that energy, the sheer transformative power of building something with people. Collaborating, learning, innovating, taking the strengths and passion and vision and energy of all those around us and creating something truly amazing. We're on the path, and this is just the beginning of the story. Wow, the tiny seed of a vision.
Yeah.
I like how you said the little tiny seed, because it did feel like that, didn't it, when we first started? It was just like this sort of I don't know, this like movement. I can't really put a right word around it, but just like this energetic movement towards something. I was just thinking about this last week. I always had this idea, even as a kid, that I was going to discover some new theological, spiritual revelation and start something new that no one had tried before. It was just like, and so like my whole life has been this kind of it was like in the background of like, you're going to start something new. You're going to start something new. And I didn't know necessarily what that meant, but I just realized, oh, wait, we did that, and I don't know that it's like new, like this brand new thought that no one's ever thought about before, but like just the act of, hey, we want to start something, anything that you start is new because it hasn't been started before, right?
And didn't it feel like, in a way, like we couldn't have not done it even if we tried? Like it was almost like this, we're getting like pulled along to this idea of like
drug along sometimes.
Right, yeah. Yeah, but it was, I mean, it was like, yes, it was our idea and we'll take whatever credit is ours to take, but at the same time, like it was like a birthing of an idea that was just like yearning to be created in this world. Like and I don't mean to say that like anything that came before this was not right or was wrong or whatever.
Right.
I mean, like,
of course not.
I think that everything has its place, and right. I think there was this twist on what had been that was looking to kind of just like crack through, and for whatever reason just wasn't. Like there was just resistance to it, and yet I think us seeing that resistance for years was like, why wouldn't we all just go do this? Like why? And so I think part of the process for me was just even recognizing like some people are not called to do a twist on. Some people are really called to do, in this case, like the traditional model, and they're going to do that like really well and do
great.
It intentionally, right? So like, I think that's part of it too, is like, if you're going to do the things intentionally and your intentionality brings you to that, let's say the traditional model, and you're going to like just nail it, like awesome, right? And for me, I just going through the process seemed like, why would anyone want to do that? Why would it? Well, because if I didn't have that perspective of why would anyone want to do that, I probably never would have taken those steps of like, I have no idea what this really is. We have no idea what this really is, but here's the next step. Okay.
Well, and even, we talk about the idea and like the vision of Soul Evolution Collaborative and building a community with people, and kind of what that would look like. I mean, we didn't have any of the answers, and we still don't, but what's interesting about this idea, what's interesting about, I think, just the nature of this word community is that, and not just our community, just community in general. When you think about community and spaces of belonging and vulnerability and connection and all the things that we talk about, that this idea is alive. It's a breathing idea. So it's not like we had this idea, this is what it is. Okay, now we do it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's not. And because I think that, and I think maybe that's true of any idea, that this breathing, this in and out, this each day is a new day. Each day is recreated, just like our bodies.
Yeah.
I'm not the same person I was last night, because the nature of our bodies, this kind of regenerative sort of framework that is the blueprint for everything,
Yeah.
is also the blueprint for ideas of community, ideas of that is Soul Evolution Collaborative, is a breathing thing.
Yeah.
SEC is not the same today as it was yesterday, and it can't be. I think that is the kind of the wave to ride, right? This awareness that community and spiritual communities, whatever type of community we're speaking of, they can no longer be static sort of ideas. Like, this is it, boom, okay, next thing. This is it, boom, next thing. But instead, it's this movement, this breathing in and out as we have new experiences, as we have new opportunities in the world, new technologies, new everything, to begin to continue to move with those things. Otherwise, we become irrelevant, and static and stagnant. We talk about like traditional models. Well, in 100 years, this will be a traditional model, and so it's like continuing to evolve with that.
I know in a week or two, we're going to talk about the box, like being in the box or being out of the box, whatever. But I think a lot of it for me comes down to that kind of concept of like, we intentionally decided to step out of the box. And when you're the ones to do that in any way, there are a lot of pieces that kind of need to get redefined and reconfigured. And I mean, even language, like, oh man, our journey through language over the last like 3 or 4 or 5 years, and
A
just
long journey.
Like, what do we even mean by that word? What do you mean? What do I mean? What does everyone else mean? Like literally like one word at a time, and then not having words for things that we're doing or creating or experiencing. And there is a muck at the very front, at the leading edge of the bell curve. Like, there is this
the leading edge of muck.
Yeah, seriously. Like,
wow.
There is this I don't know, it's like you have to like you get your hands into the mud and like mess around and dig and search, and I don't know, get dirty, and figure some stuff out.
This idea of we got to do it ourselves, we got to figure it out ourselves, and this kind of rugged individualism that we talk about a lot, and that seeps into arenas like this.
Yeah.
And really beginning to intentionally explore. And I think this is kind of the green growing edge of Soul Evolution Collaborative. And I think this, honestly is that tiny seed becoming a little bit bigger, is this idea there are so many people, so many pioneers and revolutionists and organizations and people throughout the entire world that have the same vision as we do, and they're doing it in their own ways, in their own platforms. They may look totally different from this. And like, how can we as Soul Evolution Collaborative and any other individuals out there who are doing things like this, how can we begin to then like pool our energy, pool our resources, whether it's financial or whether it's emotional, whether it's intellectual resources, and begin to really create this kind of wave of movement, because so many people are doing so many amazing things. They've caught their own little seedling of vision, and to begin to collaborate and bring those little seedlings together into this like huge like garden of a vision. And I think was our was part of that vision a long time ago. And now I think it's interesting how things come in segments, like you said, like when the next piece is there, then the opportunity is made available. And I think what we're seeing now in this kind of growth of Soul Evolution Collaborative is those opportunities to really collaborate and join with other people doing amazing work. And it's just that for me is like the excitement of this next sort of piece.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting too that like I think there's like two simultaneous and parallel thoughts that are now beginning to like slightly change direction and merge, right? Because there's part of the inspiration of all this was I think it was twofold. One was like, what does sustainable and viable spiritual community look like? Because it appeared as if a lot of the things about traditional community, where each community had to sustain and maintain all of the things, it seemed to become more and more challenging. And so there was that aspect of it. And then there's also simultaneously, like what you're saying, is people looking for something different and maybe not always being fed by that same model all the time, that there's something else looking to be experienced and then to be kind of a part of. We've kind of had those two things parallel the whole time. Like we've had like the almost like the structural side of things, like what is this vision structurally, and then what is this vision in terms of like individuals coming together as community. And it's interesting to see those two things only now start to merge together as one idea, where it really is like the people who are coming, the individuals who are coming together as community are what make this whole structural thing possible. And like there's no one to create that for everyone. It's we all need to come together in order to create that for the whole, like for the collective, right? And that's might be something that seems obvious when we say it now, but like the shedding that I think had to take place in the process to get here, for that to actually make sense in a way that it actually seemed achievable and attainable. I think that shedding was super necessary. Just even shedding some of the places where like I don't consider myself a rugged individual, and yet here we are like, we're gonna be the ones to go do it and create the thing. And it's like, oh wait, no.
But I think we're continuing to shed. Isn't that what we? I mean, that's just kind of what we do. And then sometimes you get caught up in the doing. But I think in creating a thing, whatever the thing is, but it becomes like, not only we're not like creating like this entity, but like a way of living. A way of living, a way of looking at things, a way of being open to things, a way of caring for one another, a way, and it's, I mean, I think that's exciting. It's terrifying. But it's exciting too, because it's terrifying because, there, I have my own like boundaries of safety. And so when you kind of step beyond that and like, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I'm not a big fan of transitions, of like the in-betweens. And so this has been really a interesting process of the in-betweens. It's like learning to master the in-betweens, that or being okay with the in-betweens. It is an interesting journey. It will continue to be an interesting and journey of possibilities, which I'm super excited about. Thank you for coming along with us on this journey that is Soul Evolution Collaborative. And thank you for tuning in for this episode 111 of Truth Be Told. The vision of Soul Evolution Collaborative started really, really tiny, and it's continuing to grow and grow and grow. And if you'd like to explore some of the offerings that Soul Evolution Collaborative has, you can go to our website, soulevolutioncollaborative.org. This week we have Thursday night, The Gathering, which is at 7 p.m. You can find more information about that and sign up for that on the website. And then this Friday, we have the beginning of our monthly offering called Socially Engaged Conversations. And this has been a huge vision of Soul Evolution Collaborative, to really create spaces where we can all come together and talk about topics that you might not talk about necessarily in spiritual communities in the past, and learn to listen and learn to engage with people that we may not necessarily agree with all the time, because you know what? We don't always agree, and that's okay. But this is a place for us to learn to practice listening and practice loving and practice seeing the humanity in everyone. And so that starts this Friday. It's the first Friday of every month. That'll be at 7 p.m. You can sign up for that on soulevolutioncollaborative.org. It's going to be a great experience, and we look forward to that. If we don't see you in any of those two, then we will see you here next week on Truth Be Told 2.0.